Hello my people. Alright, so in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys how I digitally color my art. So this is a little bag that I had drawn somewhere last week, and this was going to be part of another video, but since I'd already drawn the bag I figured I'd repurpose it and just use this to show you how I color. So to begin, I went ahead and made this canvas as 1000 by 1000 pixels, so it's easier on the tablet and it doesn't get all glitchy. And then what I went ahead and done ahead of time is these are the colors that I'm going to be using, which is going to be a blue, a light mango kind of a yellow, more like a maroonish kind of a red, and then a brown. And for the shading is just different shades of blue, different shades of yellow, and then so on for the red and the brown. So for that, what how I did it is went ahead and selected the color shade, and let's say for example red, clicked on the a little color picker over here, made a slight red dot, and now to get a darker shade of this, all I did was select the color picker again and just move that little selection tool down. So now I have a darker shade of that color, and then to get a lighter version, obviously I'll just select that again, come back here, and then move it over to the side. This is just an example, and you can really try and play around with this as much as you want, with any of the different colors that are on the color wheel. So if you want this to be a little lighter, obviously you can go back and change it, and so on and so forth. So with that being said, let's go ahead and erase that. Use the selection tool, hit erase. I'm gonna select the layer on which I'm going to be coloring on, and what I've done ahead of time, or not ahead of time, but what I went ahead and did is I selected the line layer, and when you tap it, I selected not the release reference, well it's release reference now, but what ends up happening is when you hit set as reference, any color that you drop on this layer that's below stays within this line art that you see, and it doesn't go ahead of that. So let's begin. And what I did is these little color swatches that I showed you guys over here are on this layer below me, or below the layer that I'm going to be coloring. So what I've done is, or what I'll do is at the end of it, I'm just going to delete that, and then that layer will be gone, and then all I'll be left with is the color layer, the line art, and then the shading layer, which will go above this color layer. So for that, and now to begin the actual coloring is I'm going to select this layer. You're always going to make sure that you are on the right layer, because sometimes what ends up happening is, or what I've done in previous drawings is, when I'm coloring I tend to go back and forth, and then sometimes I'm on this wrong layer and I end up doing a whole lot of the coloring on this and don't realize it till like a few seconds or a little while into the drawing. The good part about Adobe Fresco is if you do that, there is a way to correct it, so I will show you that as we progress. So with that being said, let's begin. So I'm going to select that layer, select the vector brush, and we're going to start with this top part of the bag, which is the flap, and the actual skull head, or the flap of the skull, I'm going to be choosing is brown. Use my finger to get the selection over. Did it select? Let me check. Okay, it did. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the paint bucket, and I'm just going to drop that. Now I've got that selected, or that filled in, and for this section over here I'm going to choose the yellow, which I call also the mango yellow, and then just tap it over here. And what I'm going to do now is just work through the bag and do this exact same thing what I just showed you. I'm going to keep playing around with the colors. It's hard to kind of play around with the colors and record at the same time, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the time lapse and just show you all what I do with the selection of the colors, and then when that's done we will begin the shading process. Alright people, you know, early on in the video I was telling you all that if you accidentally drop ink on the line art layer and how to fix it. So now the first step is I went ahead and made an extra of the line art layer, which is the layer over here, and then I'm gonna drop the ink on this layer which is highlighted. So go ahead and use the paint bucket and just drop it like that. Now even though you can see the paint dropped on this layer, it'll kind of look like it's on the color layer which is over here, but in reality it's actually on the line art layer which is highlighted on top over here. So when you turn it off it goes away, and when you turn it back on you can see the paint on you. One way to fix this is you just hit reverse or undo and it undoes that thing or undoes the paint. And then another way to do it is, in the event you're too far into the process, you can come here to the selection tool, hit magic wand, select the area that's colored, erase it, and then deselect it, and now you're back to square one or just with your line art. So that's a quick tip and I just wanted to share that with y'all. So back to the video now. So this is what I got done with the flat colors, and if you notice the eyes earlier on were blank and I just didn't want, I dropped the darker shade or the darker color which is the line art as the color for the eyes, but then it looked too blank. So what I did was I drew out this blue kind of a paper roll which kind of looks like a map and added those in, dropped the blue color into it, and then dropped the line art. So that being said, now I'm going to make a new layer right above the color layer, and that's important when you're doing the clipping mask, because whatever you shade on this layer shows up on this layer below that. So now for the shading, I'm gonna pretend like the light is coming from the left side of the canvas, or in my case it really is coming from the left side, and I'm gonna start with the top flap of the bag, and then let's see, probably I'll try to do it from the top and then slowly work my way to the bottom. Shading is not my strong suit. I mean, I try with every illustration that I do to get better and better, and then look at other illustrations that other artists have done to see what is it that they have done. And the main point is, or the going forward is, you just improve with every one that you do and make a few tweaks and changes. So for this, what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna select the actual flap of the bag and choose this little darker shade, and let's try and give a little shadow to this nose part. So what I'll do for that is I'll select the selection tool, enlarge that, and just go like that. Draw a line and get it around to here, and then I can go through this, and now I'm going to select the paint bucket and I'm going to drop the dark color. Now since this entire drawing is vector and the colors are vector as well, it gives you this option of choosing between vector and pixel. It automatically defaults to pixel, so I'm going to change it to vector, and there we go. I'm going to deselect that, and it's looking a little bit not shadowy. So I think I did the wrong color, but anyway, what we'll do is, since it's not the darker shade, we'll just double tap that and we will work on this side and do the exact same thing. So I'm gonna use that selection tool again, start with the line and then bring it around to the thing, to the corner, and then bring it like in like this, and use this paint bucket and once again choose vector, and we have that. I don't know if you can really see it, but you see this little bit of shade or the light that comes on the edge of it. So that's that. Now we will work on the teeth. Use the selection tool and give it kind of like a mountain wavy look. The reason why I went beyond the line is because of the whole clipping mask option. So when I do use the paint bucket, it's gonna show is in this layer, and it's not gonna show past that. So I'm gonna deselect that. And you can see, I think you can see a little bit of it. We'll enlarge that a little bit further, and you got that little bit of a differentiation between this color and this. So what we'll do is now we'll work with the brown shading, and then we will work our way to the rest of the colors. The shading part and getting the shading done in any of these illustrations is always the fun part. It takes the longest at first. It doesn't look like a whole lot's happening, but as you progress and go slowly and move your way around it, you slowly start seeing the changes coming slowly and steadily. So we'll go ahead and keep doing the other teeth. This, by the way, when I'm doing these wavy lines, I mean, you can totally try something different with anything that you're shading and see how you like it. If you don't, I mean, you can always erase it and then start over. Whenever I do an illustration, I usually always make a double of each layer. So in the event if the current layer that I'm working on I mess up, all I gotta do is just delete the layer I'm working on if I don't want to correct it manually, and then just have the line art that I saved earlier on, so that way I can just go back and finish what I was doing. I don't know if you can really see what I'm seeing, but if I zoom in, you see how we started with this tooth and then we slowly worked our way to number 2, 3 and 4. And now what we're going to do is we're going to work on the little pocket that's at the front of the bag. And what we'll do with that is also we will work at the top layer of the bag, or the top section of the bag, I'm sorry. So now for the next part, what we'll do is we will work on the blue, since that's the most brightest after the yellow, because the yellow one's always an interesting color to work with. So I'll choose that color and use the selection tool, and let's start with the eyes. Actually, we'll start at the inside. So now since the paper is going to be, or the map is going to be on the inside, I'm going to start with this part over here and then drop that. Now see, this one is a whole lot better. You can definitely see the color change in this blue and this blue. And then since this part of the paper or the map is on the inside, I'm gonna do that over there as well. Use the selection tool and drop the color like that. And there's really not a whole lot to teach in shading. I mean, it all comes with time, but the key point to getting something to pop is knowing color theory and how each color interacts. I mean, like now the yellow and the blue in this definitely stand out way better than the red and blue. I mean, eventually the red and blue are also going to look nice and bright once we do the shading and as we work through the entire thing. But if you look at it just now as is, you can already see like the yellow and the blue definitely pop. I mean, I possibly could make the bag just yellow and blue, but I think it would look a little bit boring. So which is why I chose all these different colors, and because I like the Day of the Dead style and the colors, I wanted to give it that Day of the Dead kind of style look. So let's start with the shading on the eyes now, or as these little droplet kind of Pablo Picasso looking things, and work our way with that, giving it a nice selection over there. And then let's see, for this it'll probably be over here, and use the selection tool to do your shading. It gives a nice unique look that you can't really get with the pen tool unless you're really careful with how you use your brush sensitivity. And this is something I learned from another artist on using the selection tool to shade with. So there's the blue. Now let us choose the red, or different shade of red. So for that I'm going to use this red, or this darker shade of red. Come back over here, select, or use the selection tool again, and now I'm gonna select that and select that another one thing with using this selection tool is it honestly gives it kind of like that Japanese anime. When you look at Japanese anime, they have that nice pop of the hard colors. I mean, it's not like the airbrush look. I mean, you can definitely tell obviously the darker shade of red from this red and so on and so forth. So I think that's kind of what makes it look nice. Let's choose the yellow, and for the yellow I'm gonna use this orangish kind of shade of yellow, and I'm gonna work from this side and use the selection tool obviously, and start from this side or this corner and then slowly work our way to the top. Not to the top, but to the bottom part of the strap. Give it that curve because that's how it goes over there, and then slowly work our way to this corner over here, come back over here till this end, and then fill that in. Now see, in this you can already tell when you do the difference in the yellow. You can definitely tell, even though there's no 3D shape in this, if you continue to mess or change the different shades of yellow and slowly work it down from this shade to a little darker shade, it will automatically give the illusion that the strap kind of like turns in over here at this point. So even though it's a flat surface, it'll give that illusion that it's beveled or kind of like turns like in. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna continue to do the remaining shading, and actually, you know what, let me do the red for this part of the bag, which will be at the bottom. So I'm gonna select that from there, come over here, and it'll probably be the bottom half of the bag that's the darker red. So I'm gonna use the selection tool and slowly work it over there. Now even though I'm doing this line art layer, I'm sorry, not line art, the selection and filling this color in, if it doesn't look right, obviously as I progress, I mean, I can always delete this and then restart back up, or I can just manually erase it with the brush or with the eraser tool like that. So with that being said, let me continue on with the remaining of it. We'll go to a time lapse to show you what I did, and trying to think. Well, you know what? Let's do this part actually before we go. Let me do the bottom yellow, which will be that shade over here, which we chose. So we'll do that for the teeth, and you see how the teeth kind of, the fabric of the yellow kind of goes behind the teeth. So this will obviously be the darker layer. So what we'll do for that is we'll use the selection tool, zoom in, use that as the selection over there, and then turn it over here like that. And now we've got that definition of the shadow. It probably will actually even come a little bit at the bottom over here. So actually I should have started the selection from here. And worked its way over here. Now once you fill it in, you see how this tooth kind of casts the shadow of the yellow over here, and then we'll work our way with the other yellows to get the shadow for the remaining part of the bag. So let's begin the time lapse, and I will eventually show you at the very end what the bag actually looks like. This is a little cracked kind of stone look I wanted to give to the bag, and I liked how it turned out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show y'all how I am going to do it for the skull, so it has that nice textured look to it. So what I do is use the selection tool and then just draw out a shape of a stone. One. There's 2. There's 3. Now to finish it, tap the paint bucket and then just tap away. I've done this look on some other drawings of mine, so I think it turns out really cool. So what I'll do right now is I'm gonna finish this off, and then when I check back with you guys, I will show you all the final reveal as to what I did with the final shading and everything. Alrighty people, so this is what the final bag looks like. So for the top part, you can see I used the lighter colors to finish off the highlights, and then for the lower or the flat part of the bag, I used this textured rock kind of look, and the look I was going for is the distressed kind of leather look. You know how when you have leather for a while, it kind of gets that cracked look, so that's what I was going for that. And I kind of like how this look is turning out, because I've had it done in other illustrations as well. And then the eyes, I finished off with the different shades of the lights, or the light blues for the blue section, and then the lighter reds for the red section of the eye. And then I did the exact same thing for this eye. And then for the teeth, I kind of gave it like a stone kind of a mud look, kind of like as if the skull was kind of like taking a bite out of the earth. But the whole point of this travel backpack is I think in line with what I really want to do later on down is I'd love to travel. This is the whole point of the backpack with the travel theme. With that being said, I will sign off by saying keep creating, keep drawing. I'll see you guys down the road or on the other side. Bye for now.